speaking on that, because you mentioned your age and you mentioned that you're still keeping up with a lot of stuff, right? What do you see for the next generation?
So this generation, I feel, and here's where I start to sound like the 50-year-old man, but this generation, this era, the 21st century is really about individuals. I don't know. I, I came up in an era where community mattered. I came up in an era where it was like, we did things for the collective. Now I understand, I absolutely understand when institutions fail people, and especially in an information age, they everybody has the right to ask questions of institutions. And if those questions aren't answered satisfactorily, I understand why somebody be like, well, then I'm not going to listen to you. And a lot of that's happening now. I can't think of one institution that has not been called to question, or it's just absolutely just being disregarded. Whether it's school, law, politics, marriage, church, education, like every one of these things are getting called into question, and for good reason. And for good reason. That said, the day that things will start to turn around for the better, and I'm relying, I want to be an agent in this, but I have to say the bulk of the energy has to come from the youth movement, because that's where it always comes from, to be honest. The day that people start to really think about humankind in a collective sense, the day that whatever the standards are get reset and aren't just sliding per everybody's individual opinion, but there's actually like, okay, even if it's got to be a new standard, let's figure out what the standard is. Let's set a standard and then maintain that standard, and let that standard be something that's beneficial for the greater good of us all, not just me here now and everybody else, whatever. The day that those steps are made will be the day that things will start to improve.
I agree as well. I think there's a time, probably before our generation, where many of the institutions that you mentioned, it was it was almost like it wasn't allowed to question them, right? Where now it's like, wait a minute, why is this happening? Wait a minute, why is it done this way? Has anyone considered this? And the best example I can give is probably in school, where many of the things that you learn in school, let's say in high school or later on, especially high school, that time period, how much of that do you still use today? Right? Why isn't financial literacy taught? How to save money, how to operate a bank account, how to write a check, how to invest, things of that nature. And I think that's a big one, especially for, because I'm in my early 30s. So especially for us, because we're like, wait a minute, we're being priced out of the market when it comes to owning a house, owning a car. Have you seen gas prices? It's insane. So we're thinking like, what is really going on? So when you mentioned that, you raised a good point, because I think it's one thing to be willfully blind to some of these things. It's another to say, hey, why is this happening? What can we do better?
Yeah, and I mean, like, in the States, I'll tell you the one thing that I still I get mad about it. Like history. The history of the United States in the United States is not taught well at all. At all. It's a PR campaign. And I mean, and I love this country, so I want to be very clear, but it's a PR campaign. It's all it is. Look at how great America is because of these tales and these fables. And so anything that shows the underbelly of America quickly gets muted, quickly gets swept under the rug, quickly gets deleted, if not, or recast in a whole different light. And because of that, when stuff really starts hitting the fan, the people of this nation, even people with education, are people who've come through successfully through the educational system, are either disputing facts or unaware. And if you don't understand the trends of how something got to a place, then you will absolutely repeat the same mistake, and you won't understand how to get out of it. I've traveled all over the world. I mean, you go to Germany, and a homeless guy out there, regardless of whatever his political affiliations or ideologies are, isn't going to argue with you about whether or not the Holocaust happened. He knows it happened, and and there's markers all over the country that tell you that it happened.